Yes, yes, it is.
Yes.
Recording now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, start my presentation, brethren. I would like to make a small confession. Uh, See, I had this idea of making this presentation on charity for quite some time now. I was in fact discussing this in our permanent committee meeting, uh, but actually I didn't know how to take it forward and what to present. Now, finally, when I sat down today morning to put my thoughts together, I was actually struggling to do so. Uh, in fact, I was feeling guilty, and I felt that I'm not really qualified to make such a presentation. Moreover, I also realized that it is a topic of some depth and it has many, many layers. Emotions are involved. And sometimes I also felt that it is not right to make judgments on such a topic. So I also have to admit that this presentation may have some content of my personal biases and point of view, which everyone might not agree. So I request all of you to bear with me. Um, Here I am. So, but however, if this discussion can, lead us to some meaningful actions, it would be time well spent. So, with that small preamble, let me start my presentation. Okay, so I want to take you back to that time when all of were made a mason, when we had our first initiation ceremony, and I'm sure all of you remember this statement. At the northeast corner church, the junior deacon would have asked you, have you anything to give in the cause of charity? Uh, vividly remember that I was initiated at Lord St. John's. I remember junior deacon asking me this question. And that time, probably I didn't care much about this question. Okay, there are so many things happening. I couldn't even grasp everything that was happening. But then I attended various initiations, and this is something that is etched in my memory. So now I request you to hold this thought for a while. We'll come back to this after a few slides. Let's start with charity. Okay, charity. This is I think this is a very very fundamental thing to understand what is charity. In our Freemasonry, the basic principles of Freemasonry, what we call as the three tenets of Freemasonry: brotherly love, relief, and truth. So this is the second one. Relief is the second one. If you look at any of the world religions, you will see this coming repeatedly. For example, if you take any of the Semitic religions are the Abrahamic religions. You will see that charity, it may be given in different words, but has been given a lot of importance. Now, if you look at Islam, for example, it is considered as one of among the 5 pillars of the core beliefs of Islam. The Islamic belief system. They have Shahada, that is a profession of faith. Then Salat, which is prayer. Then Zakat, which is alms or charity. Then Saum, which is fasting, and Hajj, which is pilgrimage. Now, if you look at the Judaism, again, Zedakah, I don't know whether that's the right pronunciation, but I think it is Zedakah, which literally means righteousness, but the meaning is charity. Basically, it's one of the cardinal principles uh, uh, in their religion. It's an obligation to help poor and needy, uh, in whoever it is. Okay. If you come to our Indian tradition, again, charity is mentioned in Bhavishya Purana. If you see, it mentions 3 types of charities. That is charity of wealth, charity of land, and charity of knowledge. And Rigveda states that among all dana, that is charity, imparting knowledge is the best form of charity. So from time immemorial, the importance of charity is inscribed, professed in multiple ways in all the religions. Now, I think it is also important that we look at it a little more closely. Now, this is a statement from Al-Bukhari. Prophet says, "Your smile for your brother is a charity. Your removal of thorns or bonds from the paths of people is a charity. Your guidance of a person who is lost is a charity. So charity is not just financial aid, it's also much beyond that. Now, going back to this, uh, in Islam, they are talking about two different kinds of charity. One is zakat, which is obligatory charity. That means it's a standardized percentage of your wealth that is given to the needy and poor, and it is considered as a religious duty. Then there's a second kind of charity which talk about, which is zadaqah, which is voluntary charity, and these are multi-forms, different forms of charity. Like as I mentioned before, it could be a smile, it could be a wise advice, it could be a physical help to build a house, or probably a religious place. This different forms of charity they talk about. So question that comes, if you look at all the religions, the way they have professed charity is all about the self. You have to do charity to achieve something. Okay, so that's how we understand charity. So it could be, some people may consider it is a one-way ticket to heaven. You have to do charity to go to heaven. uh, some people may consider it as a trump card to escape the harsh judgment. Or is it just that, okay, we do charity, we feel good, it's a nice feeling? uh, in Indian belief system, there's a thinking that, okay, it is basically to add to our karmic balance. It adds the positive karmic balance. Or it could be an insurance or assurance that we'll get the same treatment back. So people say that the cosmic justice, whatever goes around will come around. There are different ways of talking about it. Then is it just a good method of publicity? I mean, that's very often being used as a method for good publicity. We'll come to that later. We'll look into each of this a little more in detail. And also, some people consider it as a assured method for acceptance and acknowledgement in society. Now, I reserve my comments whether this is the right way to look at it or not. I mean, that everyone can think themselves. But I just wanted to put it across to you that people look at charity in different ways. Okay. Now, one thing is very clear. When someone is doing charity, there is a return on investment expectation. So whatever they do, it could be in different forms of return on investment, but there is an expectation. So this is how the way the religions profess charity, and always there is an expectation, whichever way it is. It need not be as money, but some way people think that it will come back to them if they do a good thing, a good deed. Now, I want all of you to, go through a thought experiment. Okay, what you can do is you can probably close your eyes, or probably focus on the screen. Just think that it is a working day. Okay, you are in your business attire, in your formal attire. You're wearing an expensive suit. Okay, post lunch, you thought that you'll go for a small walk, and there's a regular path that you go for your walk. Okay, just visualize this in your mind. And on the way, there is a pond, okay, which has some shallow waters. Okay, and one day you are walking. While you are walking, you came across a child drowning in that small pond, and you are the only one around to help. Now, you know that you could easily save the child by wading in, but if you do that, you will ruin your clothing and shoe because you are wearing formals, expensive clothes. Now, but if you don't do it, the child will die. What will you do? I know the answer is very obvious. I mean, I'm sure all of us are masons, we are gentlemen. We'll obviously we'll say that we may remove our clothes and get into the water, save the child. That'll be the obvious answer. Now come the next question. Would the answer be any different if there are others around who could also help, and we are not the only ones? Now, again, the third question I want to ask is, should it make any difference if the desperate child is not directly in front of you? Okay. Now, will you have the same feeling if the child is not in front of you? This is not happening in before your eyes. I'll go on. Now, are we less obligated if the child isn't drowning, but lack of food, water, or medical treatment? And the only means that you could help is by donating money to charity. Okay, so I would like to look at this construct. If something is happening in front of you, suddenly your feelings will be touched, you will awake. But if something is not happening in front of your eyes, will you have the same feelings or will it be different? Okay, again, just visualize this in your mind. Okay, now coming to the next point, the moral principle in both these cases are same. Okay, we ought to reduce the suffering of others so long as doing so does not require sacrificing anything nearly as important. Okay, now you know that in the drowning child case, the first case I'm talking about, the clothing and the shoes aren't as important as a child's life. But in the same way, in philanthropy, the monetary equivalent of that clothing or shoes is not really as important as saving a child who is in deathbed, who is not having food or not having enough clothes to wear, provided you have the financial means to support. I'm not forgetting about that point. Now, the moral principle between these two are same, but question is, will we behave the same way in both the cases? In one way, probably we'll feel heroic. In another way, we conveniently ignore it. And that's what usually happens. Now, this is actually the guiding principle behind the philosophy called effective altruism. Okay. Basically using evidence and reasoning to determine the most effective ways to benefit others. Now, the difference between this and the previous, religion-based, charity, different reasons that we have listed out for returns, when you are doing something for returns, the basic difference is altruism refers to improving lives of others as opposed to egoism, which is emphasizes only on self-interest. While you are doing charity in that case also, but what is your interest? Why are you doing charity? Are you doing charity for your own self-interest? You are reserving your seat in heaven? Are you reserving your credibility in the society? Why are you doing it? Is it, when you're doing charity, is it evidence and reason based? Is it compassion based? Or are you looking for some benefit out of it? This is one fundamental question that I wanted to ask all of you. Okay, and bring this up because this is only some food for thought, and different people may have different thoughts about this. We can always discuss this post the presentation. Now, feel that there is a requirement for reconstructing the concept of charity. Okay, when I say reconstructing the concept of charity, it is not about talking about high ideals of social service or helping the poor and needy. I mean, it's not a fashion statement anymore. Okay, uh, it is more about, we are talking about charity that is driven by compassion, and compassion is a very powerful feeling. It is actually, compassion is triggered by the pain of others. It's much more vigorous and more impactful than empathy. I'll tell you, emotional vulnerability and actually can get us into trouble. Okay, and if there is one emotion that will not get you into trouble and you'll never regret, is compassion. Any other emotional vulnerability can always lead you into trouble, but if it is compassion, you will never regret that. So compassion is actually not about charity. It is actually feeling the pain of others, and thereby you're willing to share your luck, or if you want to call it blessing, that's fine. But you are willing to share your luck with someone who is not as fortunate as you. So charity is just a result of that. But the feeling that you have in your heart about that particular situation of others is actually that is driving you to do something more meaningful. Moving forward, okay, I want to take a look at this picture for a minute. Let me tell you something. I mean, this may look like a joke, but let me tell you something. This is not the picture of a thief who just got caught by a group of people. Okay. This is a homeless man who just got a blanket from a social organization. And this is exactly the vulgarity of charity. Okay. And this is exactly, many people, this is how charity is being done. Many organizations do charity like this only. I mean, is this the way charity needs to be done? I mean, many can argue that still they are doing something, still they are inspiring some people. I mean, there are different arguments about this. I mean, I am very well aware of that. But I would request you to look at this from the perspective of what we had seen before this. What is actually driving you to do charity? Okay, now let me give you two verses from Bible. This is taken from St. Matthew's chapter 6, verses 2 to 4. Basically, the Sermon on the Mount, which actually comprises everything that uh, about the teachings of Christ. Okay, so Christ says, so when you give something to a needy person, do not make a big show of it, as hypocrites do it in the house of worship and on the street. They do it so that people will praise them. I assure you, they have already been paid in full. But when you help a needy person, do it in such a way that even your closest friend will not know about it. Then it will be a private matter. And your Father who sees what you do in private will reward you. Now, also, I want to take a similar scripture from the Hebrew scriptures. This is part of the Judaism and also part of Old Testament from the book of Isaiah. Uh, it's something about fasting. So something people are asking about why we should fast if the Lord never notices. Why should we go without food if he pays no attention? And the Lord says to them, the truth is that the same time as you fast, you pursue your own interest and oppress your workers. Your fasting makes you violent and you quarrel and fight. Do you think this kind of fasting will make me listen to your prayers? The kind of fasting I want is this: remove the chains of oppression and the yoke of injustice and let the oppressed go free. Share your food with the hungry and open your homes for the homeless and poor. Give clothes to those who have nothing to wear and do not refuse to help your own relatives. So you see, I mean, scriptures had said all this in different religions. They have already, I mean, are talking about this. So whatever we are witnessing today is nothing new. It's been practiced earlier. It's been practiced the same way, and people had the same mindset about charity. Now, coming, I mean, to the vulgarity of charity, there are different kinds of charity that you see. I'm not going to get into the details of this, but institutionalized charity has many shortcomings. Okay. Now, you will see that there are many businesses that run charity as a profitable business. There are many organizations. I don't want to name it because that may become controversial, but there are many organizations. The principle is very simple. You give me, I'll give them deducting my certificate and percentage margin. Okay. Now, if you actually really look at the balance sheet of some of these big organizations who are heavily into charity, you will see that 70% of the overall amount is their operational expense and 30% is being given to charity. Okay. They run it as a business. There are individuals who do this. There are individuals, there are religious leaders, there are many you know godmen who do the same thing. Okay. Now, charity is good publicity. Okay. But if someone is doing charity for publicity, then we should not call it charity. Then it's cost of PR. The money they are spending for good PR is that, I mean, it's not charity. Corporates do it and they call it a CSR. Now it has become a law also, so they have to do it. But ultimately, what they're doing, they are actually spending shareholders' money into charity. It doesn't pinch me directly, and also it's a mandate. So let me do it. But of late, you would have seen that many of the businessmen, they have started their own trust to do charity. For example, Infosys, uh, Narayana Murthy as a trust, Asim Premji as a trust. They don't take Wipro's money to do charity. They take it from their own money to do charity. So corporate charity is a fad, and in a way, it's a mandate now. So they may have to do it, but is that the right way to do it? I doubt it. Personally, I doubt it. Now, another thing that we usually see is the economics of billionaires charity, and this is a huge topic. We need to discuss this separately. Uh, Whether that's the right thing, what they are doing, but again, they get a lot of popularity, they get a lot of publicity, but ultimately, what they are trying to do is they are trying to build a conducive business ecosystem, and without which they cannot survive, because they have created a system whereby existence for their own people are not possible. So that industry demands them to do charity. So there are different ways in which charity is institutionalized. There could be multiple, more ways than this, but I just listed out a few of them. Now, coming to Masonic charity, I just wanted to talk about Shriners International, and many people know about this. And those who don't know, it is an appendant body of Freemasonry in US, one of the largest philanthropic organizations in the world. Uh, it's often called the playground of Freemasonry. But not all Shriners are Freemasons, but not all Freemasons are not Shriners. Okay? But you have to be a Freemason first if you want to be a Shriner. And one interesting, probably, fact is that it's called Ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles and of the Mystic Shrine. So the abbreviation of that, AAONMS, actually, if you rearrange that letters, you can read a Mason. Now, Shriners, they've been there for many centuries now. And in 1919, actually, when the polio struck in US, it killed almost 6,000 people, and many more thousand people actually got crippled, especially the children. So they decided to build children's hospital. In 1920, they built the first children's hospital in US with a contribution of $2 per person a year. Then since 1920, I mean, today they have more than 22 Shriner hospitals across thing. They are one of the biggest philanthropic organizations, and it is said that they spend 1.6 million a day on their hospitals. On even a lot of research work is happening. They focus on a few things like burns and orthopedic care, and all the money comes from donations from the Shriners. So we also have a heritage of charity, and that all our even our Grand Lodges, they spend a lot of money on charity across the world. Now, okay, so let me pause him for a moment here. Now, do you see the big elephant in our lodge room that we don't usually talk about, but everyone knows? It is there. So that also take me to another fact. Who is my brother? Okay, I will just illustrate one parable from the Bible again. What you see in the left side is a famous painting by Vincent van Gogh about Good Samaritan. I'm sure many of you would know the story of the Good Samaritan. For those who don't know, I'll just tell that it's about basically one lawyer who's coming and questioning Jesus. Basically, he was trying to trick Jesus, and he asked, "Who is my brother? Who is my neighbor?" So Jesus, to answer him, Jesus tells him a story. Okay, so it's about a Jewish traveler who was traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho. Okay, and on the way there were a lot of robbers. Okay, so he was stripped, he was robbed, he was beaten, and left half dead on the wayside. First, a Jewish priest who came, he didn't do anything. He didn't even look at this guy. He just rode off. Then a Levite, okay, he came. He did the same thing. He just avoided the man. Finally, a Samaritan. So these are all different classes of people there. Jewish priests, they are supposed to be the topmost class. The Levites are supposed to be the same class system like that what we have in India. So they have different class systems. And Samaritans are supposed to be the lowest of the class system. Finally, a Samaritan happens to be come upon the traveler. So also these Jews and the Samaritans, they used to hate each other. They used to be despised. So But the Samaritan helps the injured man. He cleaned his wound. He took him on his donkey and he carried him to the nearest inn. He gave money to the innkeeper, saying that, you take care of this man till I come back. Okay. And I'm giving you some money. And if there is anything extra that is required, when I come back, I'll pay you this. Now, then Jesus asked this question to that man who questioned him. So, who is my brother? Who is my neighbor? So the conclusion is that a brother or a neighbor figure in the parable is the one who shows mercy to the injured fellow man, and that is a Samaritan. So now this is a question that we also need to ask. Are we taking care of our brothers? And who is our brother? So we talked about what is charity, what are the different kinds of charity. We talked about how people look at charity differently, and modern ways of looking at charity. We looked at some of the ancient teachings about charity, what different scriptures say, Judaism, Islam, also the Indian scriptures. What do they say? Now, when is the right time to act? Again, I want to come back to the first slide that I showed you. We were all asked, okay, when we were asked, do you have you anything to give for the cause of charity? We didn't have anything because we were deprived of everything before entering the lodge. And the next question is asked, if you had not been so deprived, would you give freely? And our answer is yes. I want to quickly, show you some of the news items that I saw in today's, this thing. Why India is facing oxygen shortage during the second COVID wave. India is running out of oxygen again. COVID pandemic pushes 75 million more people into poverty in India. A nightmare to repeat. India is running out of oxygen. COVID, India sees world's highest daily cases amid oxygen. What are we doing about it? Shall we not do anything? And with that, I end my presentation. I would like to have the thoughts of all brethren. And this is what I wanted to talk about this particular subject. As I said in the beginning, I'm not an expert in the subject. There are more qualified people in this group itself who can actually talk about this. These are some of my perspectives. Everything may not be right, but then still I thought that I will present this. Okay, so let's see how we move forward. So I'll stop sharing and then let's get into the discussion.
Thank you, Brother John. Worshipful brother, worshipful master.
Thank you, thank you.
A very nice presentation, very close to my heart. I think my 2 bits on this, I think charity is very personal. And we keep saying that what the right hand gives, the left hand should know. But still, there are 2 things which I always think that these are irreplaceable kind of dhanams or charity. These dhanam or these charity cannot be replaced. I mean, it is not like money and you get money again. So these 2 are, I would say it in Hindi because it rhymes very well. Aapka vakt or aapka rakt. So these 2 things, whenever we spend time with someone who can use our time, maybe at old age home or any such place, is a perfect way to do a dhanam. Second is, while you can, please donate blood because that can only be given by a human to another human. So that is my perspective on this. Over to the others. Thank you.
Very, very well said, Sushil. I would request our charity steward, Brother Manji, to talk. So I'm sure he is the right person to talk about this subject. Brother Manji, you are on mute.
Good evening, brethren. I don't think so. I'm that qualified to talk on different forms of charity or what is charity and how we go about charity. All I do, and I would say I engage myself is into collecting charity, collecting money for charity. That is the basic thing I do. Other charities, yes, as Worshipful Master said, doing physical charity, that is something that that is very close to my heart. We do those kind of activities every year. Physical charity means, going out into the into slum areas and, donating either food or donating blankets or donating clothes. That kind of charity is what is closest to my heart. But otherwise, as charity, even collecting charity, I would consider it is not for any individual's personal gain or interest. If you are collecting charity or if you're going out to get charity, collect charity from others, is also a form of charity, though it may not be for you, it may be for others. And once you collect charity, it's sometimes very difficult to follow as to how it is being utilized. But I have always felt and believed that once given, it's given, it's charity. How it is utilized, if you cannot follow it up, it's your satisfaction. It is your self-satisfaction that you have given something. That is, I think, I can. That is the most I can put as far as charity goes.
Sure. Any other brother friend can contribute? Yes, brother Kesab, please go ahead. Yes, brother Kesab. You're on mute. You have to unmute first. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
can hear you. Yeah.
All right. Now, let me show you what I have in my hand. I've got this big fat book in my hand. And it is the Chambers Dictionary, my favorite dictionary of all the dictionaries. Now, this Chambers Dictionary here defines charity as follows. Just listen to me. The very first definition it gives is the disposition to think favorably of others and do them good. Then the donation of goods, money, etc. The disposition to think favorably of others, comma, and do them good. If we were to separate that last phrase, and do them good, we'll be left with the disposition to think favorably of others. And that, to me, is what charity is.
Brother Kesab,
sorry,
were others able to hear him properly?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Okay.
The disposition to think favorably of others. Let's put it one way. We don't have to part with anything, either material or non-material, or in terms of time or whatever. But let's take a simple example that somebody offends you badly. Let's say that there's a large meeting in which there's some argument about some point or the other, and someone puts you down. Of course, there's always that niggling feeling that, why did I let him do that? Why did I not let him do that? Should I have reacted this way? I could have made my point clearer if I could have put him in his place, etc. But then that's not the disposition. Sorry, that is not the disposition to think favorably of others. one must be ready to overlook that transgression of courtesy, or what we call it. And let's say, inverted commas, forgive him. As you pointed out so many examples from the Bible. Well, from the Lord's Prayer itself says, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them who trespass against us. So it's exactly the same way. The trespass could be in any form. And that, to me, is also a form of charity. Forgiving someone.
Of course, yeah.
This is one aspect of charity, which, of course, we do not really associate with. We usually associate with parting with money, parting with some goods. Okay, let's give some old clothes, let's give some old books, let's help some children build a library for themselves, let's donate towards some education cause, blah, 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 blah. But as the book says, I'm talking about the dictionary, the disposition to think favorably of others, I think is the key phrase which brings out the actual essence of what charity is all about. That's point number one. There's another point I want to talk to you about. I don't know, Brother Matthew, I do not, Worshipful Master, I'm sorry. I do not know how long you have been in Masonry. You couldn't have been very long in Masonry because you've just been made the Worshipful Master of Silvery Dawn. Am I right, Worshipful Master?
Yeah, that's right. I'm much younger than you, but I've been.
It's not a question of younger than me. I'm not.
Yeah, so I've been in Masonry for the last 14 years now.
14 years. That means it's a long time. Did you ever come across, or have you ever heard of a brother called Kausi Marfatia? A very senior Mason, very senior Mason.
Yeah.
I'm sure many of our people who are listening, who have been, as long in Masonry as you have been, have probably had some passing acquaintance with Marfatia. And with Brother Marfatia and I worked very closely together. Once upon a time, not too long ago, maybe around about 8 years ago or so, not 8 years, sorry, about 13 years ago, I was the president of the Board of Benevolence of our district. And Brother Marfatia was the secretary. And I used to spend a lot of time with him in his office, which was situated at next to the old customs house in the St. John's Ambulance Red Cross office there, because he was someone very senior in that organization. And I spent a lot of time with him and got to learn a lot about Masonry and also about charity. And at one point he said to me, and this has stuck into my head all these years, that when one does charity, the left hand should not know what the right hand is giving. And this is what I firmly believe in today. You also mentioned in your presentation about doing this, more or less on the quiet. And this brings out very clearly of what I had learned from Brother Kausi Marfatia. The left hand should not know what the right hand has given. I think with these 2 points, I'd like to just end what I have in my view on what charity is about. I think we've got lots of other people, and I'm sure they'll all have something to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Krishna. Very well said. Very well said. Thank you so much for that. So, Brother Madha, would you like to say something?
Nothing much, Worshipful Master, but it was a great presentation. I loved it.
Brother Vishwa.
Yeah, thank you, Worshipful Master. I do have a few things to say. When we use the word charity, to me, it is a highly restrictive word. I mean, to me, charity is a noun. It has a very narrow implication of, or at least connotation in our own minds of giving. I mean, charity means to give. You have to be, giving something is an act of charity. If you take your mind away from the noun charity and go to the verb, the word then becomes charitable. Now, let's say we substitute the word charity with charitable. Let's say that you as an individual have to be charitable. Then our vistas completely change. Being kind to someone is charitable. Being affectionate to someone is being charitable. Being sympathetic to someone is being charitable. I mean, every emotion of ours extended to someone else is actually charitable, and extended in a positive manner is always charitable, right? So what is it all about? It is about a positive, extension of a feeling towards somebody else in any context. It's charitable. Okay, to me, that is what is Masonry all about. Masonry is all about being positive to other people, helping them in any circumstance. It is not helping them empathizing them. I would not use the word helping them. Empathizing them with in every moment of theirs, okay, when we are with them, is the act of being charitable. So
Absolutely,
I
you're
would
right.
say I would say that, I mean, we should take our mind away from the word charity. Charity is not the right word when it comes to Masonry or when it comes to our own lives. I think the right word is being charitable. And that makes a big difference in the way, we react, right? And if everyone, becomes charitable in their responses to other people, our world will be such a nice place to live. I mean, if everyone is charitable towards others, it's such a nice place to live. I mean, it is not about giving money or it's not about doing anything. It's about being kind to people. It's about being loving to people. It's about being affectionate to people. Maybe I'm repeating myself, but that's all of that. That's what I wanted to share on the subject of charity. Thank you.
Great thoughts, Brother Vishwa. I mean, you're absolutely right. Brother Niranjan, would you like to say something? Yes,
Worshipful
yes.
Master, sorry. We also have Worshipful Brother Matthew Joseph, who is the President District Grand Charity for District Grand Lodge of Madras. Possibly, we
Wonderful.
could.
Brother Matthew Joseph, will be our pleasure if you could say a few words and share your wisdom.
Worshipful Master, first of all, apologies for joining in late. I was stuck up in another meeting and I couldn't get out of that. And I think I joined in at the fag end of your presentation. But I've been listening to all the comments and suggestions and definitions of charity that from very senior brethren of your district. And I think it gave me a lot of new perspective on what charity is all about. I think Worshipful Brother had mentioned about the dictionary word and of how you define charity from the dictionary and removing the second half of it. And being charitable is a favorable disposition to others. I think that tallies in with what Worshipful Brother Vishnu Mohan had also said. It's basically the same thing, that if we are the charitable concept, if we change it to just being charitable towards others or a favorable disposition towards others, the world would be a much better place. While talking on the subject of charity, one of the things that I did see at the fag end of your presentation was about this whole COVID situation and what can we do about it. I just wanted to also highlight one of the things that we are seeing in our district is about is how brethren themselves, a lot of brethren themselves are very badly affected. Because some brethren, the whole family has got COVID and they're not able to go out, and the treatment is so expensive that they have totally run short of money. And there are very tragic cases among our own brethren. So in fact, I think our primary task in our district is to make sure the almoners are made active. For a long time, almoners have been playing very passive roles in the lodges. And I think the way I look at it, the Almoner's role is very, very important. And it is now more than ever the need for the Almoners, because see, the problem is that a lot of brethren are embarrassed to say that they are in a financial mess. They can't even look after, they don't have money to look after their immediate family. And so I think the role of the Almoner in your lodge as well would be very, very important to very discreetly find out the situation of brethren who you come to know are in trouble, and then try to help them out in whatever little way we can. So thank you, Worshipful Master, for giving me this opportunity and for the very deep insights that I've heard from very senior brethren of your lodge.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your words. It was really wonderful that you spoke in length about what you're doing there, and it's nice to know that you are doing some activities in your district. Great. So, Brother Niranjan, I call upon you to say something. I know you are someone who practice charity. So at an individual level as well, and not just at
Yes,
level.
yes,
So
yes.
I would like to
Thank you. Thank you, Worshipful Master. Good presentation. Actually, I agree with what Worshipful Brother Manji said. It gives you satisfaction. For me, charity is satisfaction. Whenever I do charity, this satisfies me. So I do a lot of charity. Especially with the downtrodden, with Adivasi schools in the far off area, far from Mumbai. So every year I used to do with my friend. Then our lodge, Irish lodge said, why don't we, do it together? So since last so many years, me with our Irish lodges, every year we see to that we go to these villages, we distribute all these books, school bags, shoes, and whatever possible umbrellas. We've been doing it every year so that area is not deprived. Once we started doing, so we kept the same place, same villages. Every year we go. We don't want to change, go to some other, because every year they must be waiting for us to. So that is what we have done, and I hope to do in your lodge too. Last year we couldn't do. I'm feeling so bad for those kids. I called those people up. They said the schools are not yet open. So this year I was planning to do in June, but I don't know whether it is possible for us to go again. And individually also, I do a lot of charity, but I don't tell anybody. Then it makes no sense. So I keep it to myself only. Whatever charity I've done, I never like to mention. Like Brother Madhav Nair, Worshipful Brother, they know what I do. So thank you so much. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Brother Niranjan. We need to see what we can do in the current situation. Yes, Brother Bimal, I was waiting to hear from you.
No. Thank you very much for asking me, but we are 5 minutes away from the toast. So if brethren want to charge their glasses. Toast for absent brethren. Can you hear me?
Yes. So we have 5 minutes, 10 more minutes.
Okay.
So, brethren, you can charge your glasses for the toast. Meanwhile, Brother Rumi Khan is here. So, Brother Rumi, would you like to say something?
Good evening, brethren. It was a very excellent presentation given by the Worshipful Master. However, a lot of things have been said about charity. I would only like to mention, if any brother of our district in general requires any assistance, you can always contact us and we shall try and see whatever best we can do from our district to help them out in whatever way we can. So if you know of any brother or any who requires assistance, or any family members require assistance, and we shall try to do whatever best we can. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much for those assuring words. Brother Hemant, so Brother Hemant is from my mother lodge, St. John's. So, Brother Hemant, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Master. Apart from whatever I've learned this evening, very enlightening session, I'd like to also point out that in tune with what you also said, that charity need not be in kind or in cash. It can also be service. So about 5-6 years ago, we introduced a concept in the lodge called Lodge Seva, where we would meet on a Sunday.
Yes, Brother Hemant, I remember. I was also there. I remember we going to Seva.
True.
Yeah.
True. So we cleaned up a lot of cupboards, and because a lot of brethren tend to just complain, saying, "See, the fan doesn't work, the light doesn't come on, the cupboard hasn't been cleaned." So we decided to do something about it, and we got together on a Sunday, had fun, while we also put in some effort to clear up the lodge and get things in shape. So now I think that's we also introduced something called a Lodge Seva Passbook, where attendance and participation was measured. So I think even towards the lodge, there is some amount of charity due, which when we call it our mother lodge, I think there's a bit of service that would go a long way in helping the lodge, because otherwise everybody comes in just once a month and then everything is forgotten the next day until the next 27 days. So that's something that I thought would be also relevant to share here.
Yes.
Very worshipful brother Anirudh would like to speak.
Thank you, brethren. I agree with virtual brother Matthew when he spoke about the almoner. See, I belong only to the Irish Constitution, and so basically my opinions and experiences are colored from that. And our Grand Lodge actually has given us a booklet on the roles and duties of the almoner, and it's actually called the Guide to the Lodge Almoner. Now, where we are concerned, the almoner has a very important role to play. The almoner is supposed to be the eyes and ears of the lodge, and he is supposed to be discreetly going about finding the needs of not only the members themselves, but also the widows and the orphans of former members, and reporting whether they are in need of assistance. And this particular assistance has to come out by way of charity. Now, that is the aspect of the monetary aspect of charity, and then there is also the non-monetary aspect of charity, which is basically charity of thought, deed, and action. The monetary part of it, money disbursal, is a very small part of it. The other forms of charity are basically related to providing relief or succor to a brother in need. And that's what actually is more the need of the hour at this time, since we are hopefully at the worst phase of the pandemic, and let's all hope and pray that it does not get any worse than what it is presently at right now. So that's all I have to say for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Bimal.
President, will please be upstanding. President, upstanding, please. Brethren, we drink this toast to remember our brothers who cannot be here with us tonight, whatever the reasons. They need not feel alone. We are thinking of them, and we are there for them whenever they choose to call us. Brethren, absent brethren.
Absent brethren.
Absent brethren.
Yeah,
Absent brethren.
Be seated, brethren.
Okay, so we will continue. Brother Angit has been very quiet today. I'm sure he will have some perspectives.
Worshipful Master, first of all, I'd like to commend you on a wonderful presentation. It was very well done, especially the last part where where there was beautiful drama created with the COVID situation. It was beautifully, very well done. It was very effective. I saw that the topic of your presentation is understanding charity, and for me that reads very well. Only with a question mark. Understanding charity? Question mark. I don't understand it very well, Worshipful Master, to be honest. And why I don't understand it well is because I think I have seen a few conflicting things. I've heard of a few conflicting things. So I'm still on a journey of exploration of trying to understand what really charity is. For the first time today, I've heard of. I think I should thank Brother Keshav Dadachandji for giving us this wonderful definition of charity, the disposition to think favorably of others. For the first time, I've thought of charity that way. So I believe I'm still learning in my journey of understanding what charity is, understanding the concept of charity by itself. So this is my takeaway from today's talk. Thank you so much, Worshipful Master.
Thank you,
This
brother.
is very
Brother Manoj.
Worshipful Master.
Yes, brother Vimal.
You were waiting to hear from me, so here goes. I think this word charity in itself is very, very patronizing. When I say I'm doing charity, or when anybody says they're doing charity, it is as if I'm one up on him and bending down to meet him. It's not as if I'm trying to bring him up to my level to help him. Now, being charitable, which is charitable is an adjective, not a person. So being charitable, again, is pretty much the same thing. I am being charitable because I have more than you. You brought up the ancient texts. And in all our Hindu texts, it says that if you have more than you require, it is your duty to share it with your brother or your friend or your neighbor or whoever you choose.
But we'll never have more than what we require. That's the problem.
No. There are a lot of people. Nandan Nilekani said this.
Yeah.
He said there is something you need for yourself. You want to leave a little bit for your children. And if you have any more than that, then it has to be used for the social good. He did not use the word charity.
Sure.
And when IIT Bombay approached him, when they were short of funds, he said, right away he gave a check of 5 pounds. No questions. So setting up charitable organization, see, charity has become a bargaining tool. It's like a business transaction. I give you so much, what do I get for it? You come to me, give us 5 lakhs, okay. What do I get? Okay, we'll put your photo on the hospital wall, or we'll name a wing after you. But the tragedy is, if I don't do this, people are not going to give me. So you have to educate people that charity is not something you're doing. For somebody who's smaller than it's not a favor. It is your social and it is your moral obligation.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you.
Thank you very much, Worshipful Master.
Thank
I could
you.
say a lot more,
Master.
but then we'll be taking up a lot of time. There are others who want to say. Thank you.
So, Brother Manji, please go ahead.
Worshipful Master.
Please go ahead, Brother Manji.
If I may add to what I said a little while ago, and the sentiments expressed in your presentation, sentiments expressed or the definition given by Worshipful Brother Dadachandji and Worshipful Brother Vishwa, I agree with all those, but at the same time, I differ to some extent. For organizations to do charity, for example, the Grand Lodge or the District Grand Lodge, for them to do charitable deeds, they have to have funds. And for them to have funds, we have to collect funds in physical form. So just saying masonry is charitable, I don't think so. It just serves the purpose.
Worshipful Master, please allow me to.
Yes, one, 1 minute, brother.
If Worshipful Brother Manji is done.
Yeah, sure. So actually, I was trying to respond to Brother Manji. I actually agree with you. You need funds to do charity, but I'm not saying that you should not collect funds to do charity. I was only pointing out some of the fallacies and also how usually charity as a concept go wrong. Yes, of course we need to collect funds, and what one individual can do is very minimal. And if when we come together and when we collectively do things, we can do a lot more. I mean, of course, I mean that's right. Yes, brother Vimal.
Asking for charity across Masonic bodies from all lodges without knowing their constitutions and their build-ups. You are asking a bloody guy who's already broke to contribute to something which is a larger picture which suits whoever is planning it or organizing. If it is to be done, then let it be very, very selected and selective. Let's sit down with people. Let's find out the people who can shell out that kind of money without embarrassing the other guys, because this brings in peer pressure.
Yeah. So, Brother Vimal, see, the idea was only to make people think through this, and I'm sure we'll discuss this further. And as a lodge, also we need to discuss this internally a little more, and figure out how we are going to structure some activities around this. So I'm sure along with Brother Manji, it's all of us should do that. It's all everyone's responsibility. It's not just Charity Stewards' responsibility. So we will, as a next step, we'll be taking this up.
Thank you, Worshipful Master.
Yeah, sure. So anyone else would like to say something before? Always the last word is with Brother Venkat. Before that, anyone would like to say something?
Worshipful Brother Vijay.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Worshipful Master, for a fantastic presentation. It was really knowledgeable, and more than that, the discussions that have been happening after that, I'm sure there are some more to come. That is where it really collaborates so well. And I really liked the way you started your presentation, saying that you are trying to present what you are aware of, and it's such a graceful thing to say that I'm presenting something, but the discussions that are going to happen after this is where the knowledge is going to come from. So I mean, I really appreciate your humbleness to present that way. So it was really knowledgeable and time very well spent and good attendance. And what else can you ask for a Saturday evening?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Brother Vidhu, any point of views?
First of all, I thank you, Worshipful Master, for inviting me for this meeting.
Pleasure is ours.
May I introduce myself? I am Brother Vidhu Kumar from Lord Minchin, Mason from Lord Minchin, Trivandrum.
Great.
To me, that charity means the primary importance is the charity to be given, which we possess. And mostly I deem it is more important to blood donation is the fundamental charity you can do free of cost, because I periodically donate blood, and whatever your body parts, kidney, or it is the most holy charity you can do. And giving the old clothes to poor, actually it is charity, but actually in a way we are disposing of our old clothes from our house. That is, even though it is charity, by one way, we are benefiting it by disposing it off from our possession. Okay.
Yes.
And of course, we are donating food, and this thing is a very good thing. And we should promote charity by way of blood donation. That is the primary importance. That is life savings. It should be given, sir. That's all. That's all. Okay.
Thank you, brother. Brother Aniruddha Pradhan, you say something?
Worshipful Master, he spoke already.
Oh, okay, he already spoke. Okay, great. Okay, so
Worshipful Brother Majigud.
yeah.
Yes, brother. It was a very nice presentation, Worship Master, and quite insightful. There's not much I can really add, but it was very enlightening, and
thank you.
It's sparked off the thinking about charity in various directions, and very insightful. Thank you, and it was really a pleasure to be part of this meeting. Thank you, brother.
Sure. Anyone else would like to say? Brother Kesap, I think you are raising your hand. Please go ahead.
Am I audible right now?
Yes, you are audible.
I'd like to give an example, a real life example of a charity which happened in one of our lodges in Nagpur. There are two brothers. One of them, of course, is now passed away. And one of them is running a blood bank, whereas the other was in some other line of business. Now, this second brother I'm talking about had a kidney problem, and a very severe one. And this first guy, I don't want to give names, he donated his own kidney to the other. And when he was asked why he did that, he says, no, I'm sorry, his wife was asked why he did that. He says, well, that man would have done the same thing if it was my husband who needed it. Now that's charity.
That's great. That's great.
That's more than charity. That's brotherhood also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just now, the person who just spoke, I'm sorry, I did not catch his name, talked about donation of blood and kidney. He mentioned both of them together. And that's when it clicked to me that, okay, let me give this example of actually it happened. Maybe it happened about 15 years ago, 16 years ago. The brother Rumi might be able to recall that incident, or any other brother from Nagpur who is listening in today in this, but they may not be here today because they have their own meeting, I think. And he might corroborate what I have said without, of course, giving names. Brother Rumi, are you there?
Yes, Brother Rumi is there.
Yes, I'm there, but I'm not aware of these brothers.
Oh, you're not aware of them. Then never mind. Don't worry about it.
15 years ago, I was not that active. So
okay, fine. No, this happened when I was in the district secretary.
Brother Tempton, you've been quiet.
Yes, it was. Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It was a very excellent and insightful, what is called, giving a great insight into this presentation of charity. And all brothers, whatever they have said, I have very little more to add to that.
Absolutely.
Essentially, charity would consist of any form, either cash or time, or helping in terms of, like, say, kidney donation, blood donation, etc. And more important of all things is that it should be discreet. It should not be used for propaganda purposes, as you put in one photograph of yours.
Correctly, sir. Yes.
And that's about all that I would have to say right now.
Correct.
Thank you.
So, Brother Venkat, you may want to add something, and with that, probably we can close the meeting also, I think.
Sure, thank you very much. Thank you. Brother Kasab showed you a very thick dictionary, and which was on his table. So I am showing a very thick box file. which I don't know, can you see it? Oh, because of the
It's
screen.
not visible, sir.
Yeah, I know, because of the sorry. So yeah, so there's a very thick box file which contains about 3 copies of agreements from 28 NGOs, which is part of an event that we are promoting, which is about cycling, and a small tidbit, what I was doing while I was hearing this was, I kept my camera off and I was signing all those agreements which needed my counter signature. So I did that while doing this. So I was hearing to a charity topic and I was doing something for charities that are part of the thing. For those who don't know, what is known as mass participation endurance sports, that is running and cycling, are two sporting activities that raise the maximum amount of charity worldwide. Okay, so worldwide, as an organization, it's masonry, but as a sport, it is running and cycling and other, triathlon and all the other things. So anyway, that's a very small tidbit. I particularly wanted to take about 2-3 slides that you showed. One is you quoted from the religious text, and you talked about, education being the biggest charity, which of course it is. And as Masons, we are always brought out in so many ways. We are told that, your important job is to place all those who may, by imparting light and communication to all those who may there. So many times the importance of education is brought out. In the very first degree in the working tools, the chisel is brought out as an, importance of, education in shaping the rough ashlar, and so many times, so definitely education as a charitable concept is also very much part of masonry. But Hinduism doesn't have, I mean, there are thousands of books and there is no one definitive book, but it's all about living life by principles and tenets. And 2 tenets that are important in Hinduism is, one is Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Let everybody on this earth be happy. Okay, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Many people interpret it as only human beings on this earth should be happy, but the broader interpretation is that everything should be happy, and and the other one is ahimsa. Okay, do no harm to anybody else. So one becomes a Hindu by conduct, and you bought that slide of that child who is not visible to you, but who is hungry and suffering. And if something is not visible to you, does it constitute charity? Will you be charitable if it is not visible? So about 10 years back, I decided to become a vegan because I said that if I am going to be a practicing Hindu, I must practice the principal tenets, which is Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And, causing harm to trees, plants, rivers, which are as much living beings, and animals, okay, should not be part of me. So I gave up what a little bit of animal stuff I was having. In every masonry meeting, I try to make it a vegan kind of thing. So charity is not, people think charity means collecting money, giving money, taking photographs, etc., which are important. If you want to scale up charity, then it is important. I apologize to Manoj because from 10 o'clock till about 2:30 I had back-to-back meetings. There were about 5 charities we had meetings with. And one charity, for example, is about deaf, mute, blindness, deaf, blind children. They have got 28 centers in 28 places all over the country. And they are doing 28,000 children they have got under them. So unless you scale up, you cannot deliver the relief. For example, the other charity was Gunj. And Gunj has got some 200 centers where they give old clothes and make people work. So scaling up.
Venkat, the only thing is many of these charitable organizations, I'm not talking specifically about the ones you are mentioning. Their revenue model is around charity. They run that as a business, and that is a fundamental
one can say that. And what is the percentage of this that should come in the balance sheet is important. They also do it on GMV basis. I know there's a debate on that, and I will not go into that debate. Whether this is because they say that the money coming into my books is very less, but I enable so much of things to go directly, which is all part of my activity. So therefore, my admin cost is higher. Anyway, that's a different topic. But all I'm trying to say is that charity is not just about money. It's not about giving money all the time. It's about conduct in life, which is what I'm going back to what Kasabs gave as a definition of charity, which is about the being considerate to others, being positive to others, being empathetic towards others. That is the basis of charity. And then if you have to give money, you have to give money.
Sure. I think we had a great discussion and so many views, different point of views, and everyone contributed, and that's actually added to, because I was a bit scared when in the beginning, because but I suddenly realized that it's a very complex topic that I'm getting into than I thought. But I think all these different perspectives really helped, and wonderful discussions, wonderful suggestions that came up. As I said, I think the objective of this presentation was only to make you think, but otherwise, I mean, we all know what it is, but we never collectively think about what we are doing. So probably as the next step, as a lodge, we should take it to the next level and see what we can do. And that's the most important thing.
Vishal Master, I'd like to say a word of thanks before we close down.
Definitely.
If you have done, okay.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you so much. You can go ahead.
But Vishal Master, I would really like to thank you and thank everybody else who registered, took their time out from their part of the day. They had alternative claims to the time, but still they came here and contributed very significantly to the topic. I want to thank you for taking this up. And, very often in Masonry, we tend to interpret life from a Masonic context. What are the rituals say? And very often we come to a very skewed interpretation. Sometimes I feel it's a very skewed interpretation of a broader concept called charity, and this happens all across. And we just stick to the pedantic version of what the definition of charity is, without looking at the pragmatic and the more actionable kind of thing. What you did and what you achieved today was to kind of come from a very 20,000 feet view of charity and broaden the concept of charity. How much of that will affect the brethren, and how much of them will remember that peculiar moment in Freemasonry when you delivered this topic in a future time in life is a moot point. But thank you very much. You really did a job. You were apologetic, but let me assure you, there was no need for you to be apologetic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Open. Okay, I'm stopping the recording.
Yeah. Thank you so much.